So the Constitution creates for the office of the Attorney General of India, which is technically the top lawyer for the union government. And basically he or she is to represent or give advice to the central government on all legal matters that involve the central government in any sense. After that, there's also the position of the Solicitor General, which is created under the Constitution. Now, you don't have additional Attorney Generals, but you do have additional Solicitor Generals that the government can appoint in different courts. Typically, you will see senior advocates in different high courts being appointed as ASGs in those specific high courts, be it like the ASG for the Government of India in the Delhi High Court or the ASG for the Government of India in Madras or wherever. After that, at the state level, in a position similar to the Attorney General, every state government will have someone called the Advocate General of that state. So these are broadly like constitutional provisions which are created. Now, obviously, there is this common idea that is prevalent that the government is the biggest litigant in the judiciary today. And to some extent, that might actually be true. The government does fight a lot of litigation in all courts across the country and tribunals. So it obviously needs a huge army of lawyers to sort of represent it in these diverse fora across the country. So typically what will happen is that either the government or any body or organization that is deemed the state, be it like an investigative unit like the CBI or something like an institution created by the government like the UGC, these are all bodies which are technically deemed as government under the broader Article 12 mandate, or deemed as the state under the language of Article 12 of the Constitution. So they will all typically impanel a set of lawyers in every state who are then responsible for basically going and representing the government in their respective states and all kinds of courts and tribunals in these states. These empanelment rules can vary from institution to institution and organization to organization, and usually the rates that are paid to these empaneled lawyers are predefined within the rules that also set out the recruitment of these lawyers in the first place. The last thing is that there are a few distinctions between what is a senior advocate, who is an advocate, and then a third division called the advocates on record for the Supreme Court. Briefly, to talk about it, any person who has a law degree recognized by the Bar Council of India and is enrolled on any state's roll of advocates becomes an advocate enlisted on that state. So for instance, if I have enrolled in the Bar Council of Punjab and Haryana, I am an advocate there and I have the right to practice across the country in all courts and tribunals. Then senior advocates are basically this division that has been created under the Advocates Act to recognize the merit and the experience of the more senior veterans of the profession. Now, these are people who are basically designated by different courts. So the Delhi High Court will designate senior advocates from its bar association, depending on the recommendations and experience of different practitioners and litigators. The third category, and this is unique to the Supreme Court, is the category of advocates on record. Now, the Supreme Court is the only court in the country which requires that any lawyer who is appearing before the Supreme Court is at least, like when you have to file a case, you have to do it through someone who's designated as an advocate of record. Now, this AOR is sort of like a license to ensure the quality check of the kind of people who are appearing before the court and to ensure that the Supreme Court is not flooded with ridiculous litigation from like incompetent lawyers in one sense. So to ensure that quality check, they've created this additional entry barrier in a sense, or this entry qualification, that you have to write the AOR exam, and once you qualify that, you are an AOR, and then therefore any litigation that is coming to the Supreme Court has to be filed through an AOR.